Welcome to the Elements of a Strong AmeriCorps VISTA Concept Paper course for the Office of Regional Operations staff. This presentation is part of a series on VISTA Concept Paper Review. It was recorded in May 2020. Here's what we will cover in this presentation. We will start by looking at what makes a concept paper strong, and then identify some of the symptoms of a weak one. We will review a couple of examples, and you will have a chance to look for strengths and weaknesses. And then we'll offer some resources so you can continue your learning. From the outset, a good concept paper establishes a clear link between three key elements. First, a clearly defined poverty-related community need. The needs of the community must come first, and they should guide the project development process. Second, the proposed project and its clearly defined goal. The concept paper needs to describe the project with enough detail so the reviewer has a good idea of what is being proposed. And it needs to include a clear goal, describing the tangible results the project will deliver. And finally, the long-term impact on the beneficiaries. This element shows how life will be different for community residents. When these three elements support each other, they form the strong foundation for a concept paper. Further, the concept paper needs to address one of the current VISTA programming priorities that are outlined in the annual VISTA program guidance. It must clearly establish a direct connection between the current work of the organization and the proposed VISTA project. And it should include current data on the community or the population that will be served, as well as the specific needs that will be addressed. The needs should be supported with data or research on the community and include citations. In terms of the writing style, a good concept paper uses strong, direct language to make the case for the project. The writing is descriptive, clear, and concise, painting a detailed picture of what is being proposed without using unnecessary language. And finally, it must include responses to all the questions that are outlined in the concept paper instructions. When all these elements come together, the concept paper is strong and gives a clear idea of what is being proposed. Now, let's look at what happens when these elements are missing. Here are some things that can weaken a concept paper. A narrative that does not clearly identify the community need, the project goal, or the anticipated impact of the project. It includes little or no community involvement or lacks sustainable planning. Or it uses outdated, overly general, or uncited data. Or it does not show a strong connection between the organization's current work and the proposed VISTA project. Some of these weaknesses can usually be corrected by the applicant once they are made aware of them. Others may be more significant and require support from CNCS field. In addition to those, here are some more serious issues to watch for. A narrative that does not justify the reason for engaging VISTA members. If the concept paper doesn't articulate why VISTAs are the right resource for the need, it's hard to justify further consideration. Another major weakness is a narrative that does not make a compelling case for the project and its likelihood of success. Instead, it offers only vague language along the lines of, "We hope this works." And finally, a concept paper that proposes a project that could cause job displacement by having VISTAs supplant staff of the organization, or that includes inappropriate activities for the VISTAs, could be grounds to reject it. You will need to have a discussion with the applicant to determine whether the issues can be adequately addressed and corrected. One or two weaknesses do not automatically disqualify a concept paper from further consideration and development, but any weakness would need to be addressed by the organization before moving to the project application process. Let's take a look at some examples so you can practice identifying strengths and weaknesses in actual concept paper. Here is a sample taken from the need statement of an actual concept paper. See if you can find at least one strength as well as one weakness. The United States currently has over 2.3 million people incarcerated and 6.7 million on parole or probation. National recidivism rates hover around 70%, and unemployment among the 70 million with criminal records is over 27%. Each year, over 700,000 people are released from state and federal prison, while millions cycle through jails. All right, so in terms of a strength, the narrative includes relevant statistics about the need, and it provides citations for the sources of that data. But did you notice anything about those statistics? They are all national figures, so we don't know what the situation is like at the local level where the project would operate. This isn't a fatal flaw, but it could make it harder to tell if the proposed project would address an actual need in the community. Here is another sample from the same concept paper, this time from the Strengthening Communities section of the narrative. Again, see if you can spot a strength and a weakness. We are requesting 2 VISTAs to help establish a sustainable program to recruit, train, and support volunteers, develop a sustainable funding strategy, deepen relationships with current partners and find new partners, and oversee staff to manage program growth. So here, the strength might have been apparent. The narrative includes specific statements on how the VISTAs would be used in the project. But were you able to spot a weakness? Look at the last bullet point. Overseeing staff would be a staff responsibility and not appropriate for a VISTA member. Remember, VISTAs must not supplant staff, so a statement like this would trigger a conversation with the organization to make sure they understand the limits of what VISTAs can do. You can find additional resources to support your concept paper review in SharePoint. First are the concept paper instructions. These are what potential sponsors should follow when putting together their concept paper. Next is the concept paper and application checklist, a tool for CNCS field staff when reviewing VISTA concept papers and project applications. Finally, there is a sample concept paper you can review. It's the same one used for the sample statements we just looked at. There's also a key of sorts that points out some potential weaknesses in the submission. Here's a quick summary of what we just covered. We looked at what makes a concept paper strong and identified some symptoms of a weak concept paper. We reviewed a couple of examples and identified a strength and a weakness in each. And finally, we shared some resources to support your continued learning. Thank you for completing the Elements of a Strong AmeriCorps VISTA Concept Paper course.